The month of February is right around the corner, and I think it's going to be a huge month for gaming, with big titles like Dying Light 2 and Elden Ring releasing, but also all the titles like Black Desert Online and Guild Wars 2 bringing huge content patches to their game. But me personally, I'm the most excited for this long-awaited title, Lost Ark. I firmly believe that Lost Ark has a big potential to rival the popularity of World of Warcraft. And I know, we have all been burned by the unsuccessful launch of New World, but I believe this game is worth your hype. So, what is Lost Ark? Lost Ark is an isometric 3D fantasy MMORPG similar to the likes of Diablo and Path of Exile. But apart from the camera angle, Lost Ark is very different from those games. The game was co-developed by Tripod Studio and Smilegate RPG. Both of these companies are Korean game developer and publisher companies. Lost Ark has been launched in 2018 in Korea and has since then been refining their game and their content, and are now fully ready to release their game and its massive quantity of content to the Western world, with Amazon Games as their Western publisher. Now, before you all start screeching over the Korean pay-to-win risk and how Amazon will fuck this game up just like they fucked up New World, I will ask you to sit down, buckle up, and let me explain all the pros and cons of the game, and hopefully in the end you will know if Lost Ark is an MMORPG for you, or if it's just gonna be another shitty MMO in your books. When it comes to PvE, Lost Ark is extremely content heavy. There is a lot to do. They basically took all the successful modes of other MMORPGs and slammed them together. After the main story, which takes about 30 hours to complete, it's all about grinding. But with this huge diversity of content to choose from, this grind can feel enjoyable and not as repetitive as in other MMORPGs. Looking at you, New World. Lost Ark seems to have it all, from the more classic modes like raids, instances, world bosses and so on, to some less conventional game modes like a Monster Hunter game mode, where you have to hunt a boss on a map to get specific refining materials and upgrade your gear. The endgame content difficulty is quite well balanced. You can't just run brainlessly through all the raids, and some of the harder content will probably never be finished by a majority of players due to its insane difficulty, which gives the players that do succeed some well-deserved prestige. Now let's go back to the grind aspect of the game. Like mentioned, the endgame is strongly based on grinding. It is an MMORPG after all, but I feel like Lost Ark is very casual friendly. Thanks to its multiple catch-up systems in place, the casual player base will be able to catch up the more hardcore no-lifer audience in their limited available time. Of course, you shouldn't expect to be on par and rival the hardcore audience, but Lost Ark makes very sure that you won't feel left behind and that you have no way of catching up. Finally, what I love about the PvE in Lost Ark is that it feels very competitive. You will strive to reach the highest tiers of PvE content and will be rewarded for it. There even is a PvE guild content where your guild competes against another guild in a PvE environment. All in all, PvE in Lost Ark seems like it will appeal to a very broad audience. For the people that have watched any of my other videos, combat is where I'm picky, very picky. And again, combat in Lost Ark hasn't yet convinced me. In Lost Ark, you do most of the moving and fighting with your mouse. You click where you want to go and you click what you want to attack, basically like in League of Legends. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy League of Legends, the main reason of course being the absolute cancer toxic community LoL has. So Lost Ark's combat and I are already starting off on the wrong foot, but I have to admit that the combat looks sweet. Not only does it look extremely reactive and fast-paced, but the animation look incredible too. Even if I feel like some of the abilities are a bit too flashy, bringing a lot of visual pollution with them, and that could be pretty distracting in a fight. All in all, the combat looks very promising, and I believe that people coming from games like League of Legends or Dota 2 will feel right at home, since the mechanics are very similar to those games. Okay, let's talk PvP. PvP in Lost Ark is quite different than in other MMORPGs. For a starter, the gear absolutely doesn't matter. Once you reach level 25, you can set up your PvP skill points and that's it. Everything else is equalized. Gear doesn't matter, level doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have the absolute highest space-time boss gear and you control reality itself, or if you run around naked. In PvP, Everyone starts on an equal playing field and only skill matters. And I have to admit that I feel very weird about this. Because on one hand, I love the fact that it's skill based and that you don't have to chase the grind to get the highest gear to be successful in PvP. But on the other hand, I find this a slight immersive killer since it disconnects yourself to your character. It feels like you'll have a PvE character and then a PvP character. I mean, after all, this is an MMORPG, and in an MMORPG, gear, skill, game knowledge, and game sense all merge together to create your in-game character and personality. It all goes hand in hand, which will of course never be truly balanced since not everyone has the same amount of time to invest. But this is part of MMORPGs. The guy that farmed his way up to having this space-time armor should be able to annihilate the naked guy. But Lost Ark does it differently, and I'm ready to embrace the change, and I look forward to seeing how it feels. When it comes to the available PvP modes, almost all of them play out in an arena setting, like a deathmatch where the only thing that matters is getting kills, or a team deathmatch where you have to work with your team to defeat the enemy team, and finally the more exciting and competitive modes like 1 vs 1 ranked matches. In Lost Ark, there is a whole ranked system, where you climb the ranks getting unique looking skins that are tied to your rank, with an open leaderboard and ultimately giving you the deserved fame and bling if you manage to climb to the top. Last but not least, we have the guild PvP content, where your guild fights another guild in a PvP setting. Sadly, open world PvP doesn't yet have a strong presence in the game, but the devs have promised that this will be an impactful feature in the future. Something that I find very exciting in Lost Ark PvP, and that doesn't get talked about a lot, is that there are big plans for an esports scene, with many Korean LAN tournaments already taking place. This will hopefully propulse the game to the top, giving it a huge and long-lasting player base. So, Lost Ark's PvP seems like it has a bright future, and I have to say, as a PvP enthusiast, I look forward to it. I am overly excited to see where this leads, and I will be giving my best to climb those ranks in Lost Ark, and I'll be streaming it here on YouTube. So if you don't want to miss out on my PvP and even PvE adventures, I recommend you head down to that shiny subscribe button, you pat it gently, and while you're down there, you might as well also tell me what you think about this PvP and PvE gear separation. Dope or nope? Anyway, let's move on. In my intro, I said that I believe Lost Ark will rival the popularity of World of Warcraft, and I stand by that statement. But I don't believe Lost Ark will replace World of Warcraft or any other MMORPG because of its hub-based world. The world of Lost Ark is basically a bunch of instanced maps stitched together. It is not an open world, and this gives it a very linear feel. Lost Ark feels more like an online connected game and less like a massively multiplayer online game, and due to those instances you never really see more than 2 to 3 people on your screen, except of course when you're doing raids or PvP. And I'm not entirely certain if this will change at launch, but for now it seems like the game has a player cap per instanced map. All this leads me to conclude that the game won't be as strong from a social aspect when compared to the likes of New World, World of Warcraft, or even Mortal Online 2. You won't find those classic MMORPG moments where you have a group of random people grouping up, talking and fooling around. This of course doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because even though the world is pretty linear, it was very carefully designed with refreshing environmental interaction and vertical mobility, which you usually don't expect in these types of games. Lost Ark's world has its own benefits, but won't replace that feeling of immersion adventure you get when playing an open world MMORPG. Something I also want to quickly mention is the side content, or how I call them, the in-game minigames. Lost Ark aims at keeping you in their universe by all means, so they are giving you an almost endless selection of things you can do. Whenever you don't feel like doing something, you will have something else to do. Even if at some point you don't feel like engaging in the vast selection of PvE or PvE modes, then you have those so mentioned mini-games to sit back and relax. From sea content to treasure hunting, fort management, rune management, and other side content activities. Lost Ark truly aims at keeping you invested and interested. time to talk about the elephant in the room. Is Lost Ark pay to win? Being that Lost Ark is a free-to-play Korean game, it is very normal to be fearful of the pay-to-win monetization these type of games have shown us in the past. Looking at you, BDO. And it's true that Lost Ark's in-game store isn't cosmetics only, and by paying real-life currency you can accelerate your progression to a noticeable extent. Now, this does absolutely not apply to PvP. There's nothing in the in-game store that gives you any edge in PvP. But in PvE, you can most definitely accelerate your progression with real-life currency. The monetization model in Lost Ark is not what I would call pay to win, since you absolutely don't need to pay a single penny to win, but it's what I would call pay to win faster. Now, like I said, you don't need to spend currency to progress, everything is unlocked to you. There are no DLCs, no VIP worlds. The gap between the players that pay and the players that don't will be ever so slight that a non-payer can still achieve the exact same as a paying player. It will just take ever so slightly longer. But from all the people that play the game, all have stated that Lost Ark never gave them the feeling that they had to pay to keep up. What makes me very hopeful for the future is that instead of expanding their pay-to-grind skip, they are actively reducing it, and depending on their earnings from cosmetic items, this pay-to-win faster might be reduced to an unnoticeable extent. And from what we have seen from Smilegate, it seems like they really care about their players. They listen and actively try to make the experience better for all the players and don't focus only on the paying ones. What does disappoint me slightly is that the game launches on the 11th of February, but that people that bought the Founders Pack get a 3 days head start. This to me is the biggest pay to win aspect of the game, because 3 days is quite a significant head start. Finally, of all the people, Daddy Amazon has actually stepped in and also actively reduced the pay to win faster. Thanks, Amazon. Still doesn't make up for what you did, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So, is Lost Ark for you? Well, I don't think that the people that have been playing more classical MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, or even Black Desert Online will feel at home from the get-go, due to the missing open world and non-instanced map. But if you like this style of isometric action combat and you're a sucker for MMORPGs, no matter if you're a hardcore no-lifer like me or if you're a more casual player, there will be something you'll like in Lost Ark. The biggest strength of Lost Ark is that you can completely avoid the things you dislike. If you're only interested in PvP, then spam PvP and do nothing else. And if you despise PvP, then you can solely focus on PvE progression. In Lost Ark, you won't be punished for not doing the other forms of content. Lost Ark has something for everyone, and it encourages you to try many other things that might not be entirely your cup of tea, but it never pushes you. Play at your own pace, and most importantly, do the things you actually enjoy doing. Lost Ark doesn't have anything truly revolutionary, but it innovates the little things. Being that the game will be free, I definitely recommend you give this game a try. And while you wait, how about you try a very different game like Mortal Online 2? Go check out this video to see what that's all about.